So the government will start out with, the government has invested a lot of money into the IRS of recent. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 billion, give or take a few billion. So the government's ramping up their plans because they want to get people to be more tax compliant. What we have seen is we see a lot of sole proprietors getting audited, Schedule Cs. And the reason for that is if the IRS makes a change on that sole proprietorship, it's an immediate impact for them, right? They make a change in a deduction, they immediately get a tax increase. So that's where we see it, and we try to guide people to get away from that level of entity. We try to convince people to either go into a corporation, a partnership, or just move away from having a sole proprietorship. At a business level, I do see people getting more audited. It's random. It is not as definitive as it is at the personal level, but at every level, when people get audited, there's anxiety in the beginning, right? I'm being audited, what's gonna happen to me? I'm going to jail. A lot of crazy thoughts go through people's minds, and you can understand that, right? The government's looking at you. Most people call, and as I've said, we give them the financial therapy. We calm them down and we say, look, this is just a normal thing. They're just examining your books and records to make sure that you're in compliance with the law. And they have the right to do that. And it's a personal relationship. You generally are working with an auditor. And in our experience, it's always turned out well. We do get hired, even if the client is not our client, we get hired to defend them at the audit level. And we're generally very successful. Again, depending on what cards I'm dealt and what I can actually justify versus having to tell the client that that's not a legitimate deduction. We just had a client come in and he brought his tax return in and he recognized that he had deductions that he didn't have the proper documentation for. And I told him, look, I'll do my best. The auditors are reasonable, they'll work with you, and you're gonna have to understand that certain deductions are just not valid. And he was okay with that. And he says, what's gonna happen? I said, you're gonna get a bill. And that's exactly what he got. He got a bill.